everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is a good day. Before I tell you what the video is about, I got my first vaccine shot. I'm really excited. My arm hurts, but that's normal. I'm really excited, so that was cool news today. I'm filming this on Saturday. I'm hoping that I can get this uploaded by Sunday morning, so it will be like a full 24 hours when people see this after I got my shot. And I'm very excited. I came back from vacation on Friday with my family. It was great. I didn't read at all. This is the first year that I can remember that I didn't bring a stack of books with me to read and then like kind of be so caught up in reading that I don't spend time with my family. Or I mean, I spend time with my family, but I don't spend like the whole time with my family. So I did so good this year. I did finish an audiobook, so I'm really close to, you know, winning my Naruto TBR game because I will pass the preliminaries. Okay, I think I've read 3 of the 5 books I'm supposed to read, or I'm going to read the 3rd book I'm supposed to read to make it 3 out of 5. But that's not on that. Today, I wanted to talk about some series that I absolutely love, that I recommend, and that I want to reread this year. So some of these books are going to be ones that I absolutely recommend. I want to reread. Some of these I recommend. I'm not going to reread them just yet because some of them I literally just finished. So yes, this is a little recommendation video. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the first books I'm going to talk about are actually going to be young adult. We're going to be young adult fantasy, sci-fi shebang. So very excited because, and this isn't the first book in the series, but that's okay. 3 Dark Crowns. This one's 5 Dark Fates. This series by Kendar Blake. I loved this series. Okay, this series is about 3 sisters. They live on an island that's got some magics going on, and they all have 3 different powers. For years and years and years, these sisters fight against each other. Whoever wins becomes the queen. I don't want to say of the island, but I guess of the island. And the other 2, they die. So this is a battle between 3 sisters, 3 triplets, I guess, really. They're all triplets, they're born on the same day. So one is a poisoner, one is a, one deals with elements, one's an elemental, and one's one that deals with animals. It's really like in tune with animals. And I loved this series. Okay, this last book, I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning finishing it. I absolutely loved it. I love the characters in this book. The first book especially, while I did guess what was going to happen, I didn't guess it till the end. Okay, that's pretty good for me. So I can guess things pretty quickly. But this series is awesome. I think all 3 sisters are unique in their own way. There are going to be some that you love. There's going to be some that you hate. You hate to love, you love to hate, whatever. I think the story itself is very tragic, but also really great. I just really like the plot and the characters. Personally, I think the ending was really good. And you know, one thing about some series that have 4 books in them instead of 3, sometimes the 3rd book isn't that great, okay? And you kind of wish that it didn't exist. While not a lot happens, like there were a few things that I thought were going to happen in the 3rd book. If you've read it, you might know where I'm going with this. There's some type of ghost situation. That's not really giving anything away because you really don't know what the fuck is going on. But I thought there was going to be something more to that. I had a different thought going on with that scenario. It didn't happen. That's okay. But that was a 3rd book in a series of 4 that I did not hate, that I actually enjoyed, that I put down, not wishing that I hadn't wasted my time with it. And I would absolutely recommend this series. It is young adult. It is fantasy. And I don't believe I've read anything else by Kendar Blake. Pretty sure I haven't, but this series, whether it's going to be the only one I ever read by them, I really loved it and I absolutely recommend it. And I want to reread it this year for sure. Okay, I've talked about this several times with my files. You know, the book that's really pretty that I bought just because, you know, I watched another booktuber gush about it, and then I opened it and I was like, I can't do this. But then I listened to it on audiobook. So not only do I recommend, not only will I be reading this again this year because I really, really want to listen to it on audiobook, I'd recommend listening to it on audiobook. A lot of people are familiar already on booktube with the way this is like mixed media or whatever. As you can see, you've got some chat logs here. Hopefully this is focused. And then you've got like, you know, these little moments, you know, looking at it now, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Like, you know, like what was I thinking? Why did I think I would be able to get in? I don't know. This is not to discourage you. That's just to say that when it comes to this book, number one will always be audiobook for me. But anyway, this series, it's a trilogy and it's young adult sci-fi, takes place in space. A corporation has destroyed a planet illegally. Obviously, nobody really wanted that. And the people from this planet are on the move. They're being chased by that corporation for some reason. Something is unleashed on the spaceship that's pretty chaotic. And I gotta say, I hope that's a decent enough explanation to like get you kind of excited about it. But there were so many times listening to this on an audiobook that heart was kind of racing. I'm not gonna lie, not to be dramatic, but especially in this first book with what's going on with what's happening on the spaceship, really, really good. So I want to listen to this again this year because I really enjoyed myself listening to it and I really didn't think I would. When I went into this, I was just trying to listen to books that I had on my TBR for a while, and I don't think I really went into this thinking that I was going to love it, which is sad because it's a really great book. But honestly, it blew me away. I know some people don't like it. That's okay. I enjoy it. I would recommend if you're looking for something that's like kind of a fast-paced. Every book is kind of different. You follow different characters in all three, but then you also kind of see characters from the first book in the next books, and I just really liked it. So I recommend, and I will be rereading. So I won't go too crazy on this one. Scythe, I talked about this already several times. I loved this series. I'm not gonna reread this year because I just finished it this year, but I absolutely recommend this series. I've already recommended it to 2 other people in my life, and I'm not gonna go into synopsis because I've talked about it several times. I think most people on booktube know what it is. Oh, maybe I should. Maybe if you haven't read it and you're new to this channel. Okay, so basically, years in the future, we get to a point where an AI, takes care of us. It's called the Thunderhead. And we've gotten so far into the future, we've progressed so far in the future that, you know, the Thunderhead takes care of our jobs. Everybody has a job. No one is homeless, in poverty, and nobody dies. So there are these people whose job is to be a scythe, to be the reaper, to kill you, and some shenanigans ensue with some bad reapers versus good reapers sides. And this had me going. I really, really loved this book. And I think out of all 3, I probably Scythe is my favorite because I didn't know what to expect with this. I had heard nothing but good things about it, but reading it for myself, man, this one really packs a punch in my opinion because of Scythe Goddard, but then that third one too. So I would absolutely recommend this series, and it is young adult sci-fi. Okie dokie. I'm of the side of booktube that loves Throne of Glass. Okay, I love this series, and trust me, I have my issues with it. I think we all can agree, crappy male characters. Almost wish they didn't exist. I hate almost every single one of them, but I love certain characters in this series, and I've said it, and I'll say it again. Queen of Shadows is my favorite book. Favorite. I can't get enough of Queen of Shadows. Honestly, if I reread the series, I'm just gonna read Queen of Shadows and Kingdom of Ash. I'm not gonna worry about the rest of the series. I reread it the year before last, I think, maybe last year. Feels like 2020. It happened. I was floating above myself during it for the first half. But I love this series. You're following Selena, for those who didn't read it, Selena. She is an assassin. In this book, she is basically ripped from slavery by the king and his son to fight in the games to be the king's assassin. And, you know, of course, she's the only woman. Duh, you know, that's how it is with some young adult fantasy. But there's some sinister things going on. And like I said, there's some things about the series that just plain suck. But I love the story, okay? I just love it. I'm sorry. I love Lysandra. She's my favorite character. The witches are my favorite characters. I kind of like Dorian. He's all right. He's pretty good. He gets better. But, you know, I like the flow of this series. I think some of the things that are revealed are really great. The character, so as far as what I like about this series, the characters I like are really great. The characters I don't like, they're fun. But the story, I like it too. Honestly, I'm not like the super big fan of like fairies type thing, but I like this one and I would absolutely recommend it. And if anything, I'm not gonna start from the beginning of the series. I'm just probably gonna, like, for a comfort read, reread Queen of Shadows, and if I really want to just sob at some point, I will reread Kingdom of Ash, because that's a tearjerker. And lastly, this one I'm absolutely going to reread this year because I haven't read this in so long, but when I started it, I was very fortunate because the last book was just coming out, so I got into it basically when the series was ending, so I got to binge read this. But Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. You want to talk about a young adult fantasy, okay? You want your world rocked? This one. I don't even remember what's going on in this book. It's been a while. So magic doesn't exist in the kingdom as of now. It may or may not be about to be released, honey. So you've got several young people, lots of young people coming together, fighting against each other, trying to save their kingdom, just trying to come out of the other side alive, but there's some love in it. Morgan Rhodes did not care about killing people, and that's not necessarily a spoiler because you don't know who the hell is gonna die or live. You'd be surprised. I loved this series so much. I read the novellas, okay? I even read her other series. I wish I could remember. They're so fun. They're so far. They're right there in the corner. She did another series that was kind of similar, but it was more present day time period. And I did like that. She's no longer going to continue that series. So I guess, you know, stick with Fallen Kingdoms if you want to have something that's actually completed. But I really, really want to reread this series so bad. It was so good. It's like that perfect, you know, young adult fantasy type situation. You know, you got your predictable enemies to lovers type situation. People constantly misunderstanding each other, which is very frustrating, but it's like, but it works. It works. So yes, I recommend and I will be rereading. All right, so now onto some more adult fantasy books. Pretty sure most of the ones that I've chosen are fantasy. There may be one that's sci-fi, but I'm gonna start off strong with City of Brass. This book, this series, the David Bod trilogy, I loved this so much. I listened to all three of these on audiobook. I absolutely enjoyed it so much when I was working in the Charlottesville area. That's when I first started reading or listening to the first book, and it was amazing. I loved it. It was quite a long drive for me to get there. So this book is following Nari. She's our main character, and she's currently in Cairo, thieving it up, but she accidentally summons a djinn named Dara, and he just kind of opens up her world to show her Daevabad and this city of jinn and magic, basically. She didn't know that she had any kind of magic within her. Now she's kind of swept away to this kingdom that is so separate from the place that she lives in Cairo, and it's, you know, it is like two different worlds, and there's some love in here, there's some politics in here, war, some deep-seated, you know, resentment and anger. But ultimately, I love this series and I would absolutely recommend it, whether you read it physically or you listen to the audiobook. But I love the audiobook. Honestly, if I just keep gushing about a damn audiobook, you know, I loved it. And again, 2 times the speed. This narrator did it for me, okay? But I absolutely recommend this one. Well, I'm not gonna reread this year because I just finished the 3rd book at the end of last year. I definitely want to revisit this either at the end of this year or early next year because it was just so good. And like I said, the audiobook is awesome. If you have Hoopla, all 3 of them should be on there. But yeah, just fantastic. Now this one is a little different because it's not done yet, but I will absolutely be finishing the series. Now I don't know if it's actually a trilogy or not, but the 3rd book comes out in June or July, but Women's War. Okay, I love this book. So fucking good. I know. I remember when I first started booktube and I first started talking about this, I couldn't shut the hell up, and I still can't. I loved this book. It got me out of a thick fantasy reading slump, and I absolutely recommend it. Basically, we're in a kingdom that magic does exist. Men and women both can manipulate magic, but men get to use it for defense. It's seen as more useful in their hands. Men are allowed to explore using magic, getting stronger with spells, whereas women do not. Women are forced to only use it for like being a midwife or for making a spell that is gonna relieve your headache. It's for medicine, and it's seen as very, don't do that if you're a lady. But there are these other women that are unfortunately forced into prostitution for the kingdom who use it pretty often. There are basically, the way this story sets up is that there is a very strong magic user who's a woman who is about to flip the script on everybody. Okay, so you think men that you've got it all? No, you're wrong. They're gonna change the game, okay? I really loved this book. This first book was fantastic. I loved every single character, even the evil one, just because I felt like he was really well written. The second book I thought was really great. There's still some things that I wasn't super happy about, and I talk about it in a previous video. Maybe if I figured out by now how to, you know, link a video in the top, side, bottom, whatever, I'll put it there. But ultimately, I'm gonna finish this series this year, if it finishes this year. The way the second book ended, you know, when something ends on a cliffhanger and you really have to debate, do I want to finish this? Do I really want to finish this? Because I don't know if I want that to happen. I don't know if I can emotionally handle what's about to happen. That's where I'm at, because I know the 3rd book is going to cause me a lot of anguish. So yay for me. Recommend. This next series I love, and I have been saying for the last few years that I want to reread the series, and this is the year I will be doing it, okay? Hold me to that. I'm going to reread this series because it is so good to me, and that is the News Flesh series, but Feed by Mira Grant. Now, for people on BookTube, you know that Mira Grant and Shauna McGuire are basically the same person. I'm more of a fan of Mira Grant. I like these more adult books that they make, and Feed, top tier for me, okay? Oh my God. Thinking about the end of this, I want to cry. It was so good, and might be a little bit triggering for now because it does kind of have to do with little pandemic-esque situation. So, you know, when I read this back, 4 years ago, didn't think I'd have a moment of, I don't know. I don't know if this might be too real for me, but basically, it's funny. So it takes place in 2014, but we've cured cancer, we've cured the common cold, but something else more deadly than, you know, some of those things has been created. zombie-like situation going on, and people basically have the group that we're following are a group of younger people, and all the news is now kind of more independent, what you would see online. It's not like the CNNs or the MSNBCs. I don't even watch these things. It's not that kind of news anymore. They can't trust that news source, so it's now independent. I guess you could call them journalists, which is very much like now, don't you think? A very unbiased situation with this group of people, but this was fantastic. I'm not sure how I picked this up, but I read this right before I started getting into the Pop Sugar Challenge. I think one of the prompts was read a whole series, and I literally just finished it and I was like, oh, I could have used this, but it was so good. I've recommended this to quite a few people in my life. I would absolutely recommend it to everyone else. This series is actually really good, and like I said, I want to reread it this year. 5-star all the way. Next up is The Alchemist of Loom by Elise Kova. I got into this book because of Peru's project, Reagan. When she picked this book up and I saw the hardback covers, I was like, ooh, I kind of like it, but then I really liked these covers for the paperback. But anyway, honestly, loved this series. I gave it 5 stars. I want to absolutely read this this year again, because it was such a great world to be in, and I thought the ending was really great. There were some moments that really had me like on the edge of my seat, and I recommend all day, all night. Basically, this is more like that sci-fi kind of fantasy type situation, very steampunk-esque. Has to do with dragons. Basically, if you kind of catch a dragon or something to that effect, not really catch them, but like maybe save them in some way, they may owe you a wish. And Arie, a lot of things have changed, very unhappy, but kind of living day to day. Now that she's caught or helped the dragon, her ultimate wish is to take down like the Dragon King. And you're following her, the dragon, and her friend on this like super crazy quest to take down the Dragon King. And it was a great ride. Oh man, especially the last book. Anybody who's read it, the part in the last book when it came to the, not trains, but I guess the railways, hard stopping, I loved it. I would absolutely recommend this one. I want to reread it this year. I want to try to see if this is any way that it can be on the Pop Sugar Challenge for me, but ultimately I'm in a mood this year to reread books, and I just want to go for it. I'm still going to do the TBR Challenge, but I want to revisit this world. So this was absolutely 5-star for me. I would absolutely recommend, and I will be rereading this year. Okay, so you know what's funny? You want to know what's funny? Me saying I'm over it. Not really, because I'm not over all the older books, okay? But I was just, like I said, I've been in the mood to reread books, and I had to reread. I had to start from the beginning at the Anita Blake novels. I've already read the first book, reread the first book, and again, like, I have a story about this book. Okay, so as you will see with the next few videos after I finish this cover's different than the other ones, because I loaned my original copy to some person in high school, she who will not be named, who never returned it to me, and I just will never forget that. I will never forget, and I will never forgive, because at this point I really would have to find a used bookstore or something for someone who had the original cover, because now they've all kind of transitioned to this, and I'm not happy. So to the person who stole my copy, I still know who you are. I still hate you. So yeah, but anyway, the Anita Blake series, I'm really excited to be getting back into the world. When I started rereading the first book, I was like, damn, I should have reread this sooner, because there are some characters besides Anita Blake that are just my favorite in the series. Ronnie, her best friend, Zabrowski, this cop who's on the force with her, who's always like you know, poking at her, but they have this really great relationship, and he loves his wife, but he's a slob. And it's like, the thing about the Anita Blake series is that there's so many other characters in here besides Anita Blake that you can fall in love with. So even though these first books, I'd probably say the first 10 books at least in the series, these first 10, I like Anita. Anita's awesome in this series in the very beginning. She still has that, like, I'm not like other girls kind of thing, even though she's like 32. But I love her in the first few books, so I'm glad that I get to go back. I'm definitely, and you know what, and this is what I know I said in the tech TBR tag video, like, I'm not gonna read any of the newer books. But then I thought about it and I was like, wouldn't it be funny to do a video? Funny? No, maybe only to me. Maybe I should just read those books. I'm not gonna buy them. I get them from the library. But maybe I should just read them. And then I can do like a tiered video, you know? I really like those, of like maybe best books, worst books in the series. Definitely want to do one based on all the freaking people that she sleeps with, because, you know, like I've mentioned, there's a huge polyamorous relationship that happens. I mean, you literally get to a point where it's just, who's gonna marry who? It is several sets of people. It just becomes too much, and no one's solving crime, and no one's raising the dead. It's just people getting mad at each other in relationships. So I'm reluctant, I'm very, very reluctant to read past the books I already own, because God, they're like, even the last few books that I own are really bad. But I haven't read something like, I haven't like hate read anything in a while, maybe ever. I don't know if I have hate read something, because usually if I don't like a series, I just don't keep going. With this one, I mean, I'm not gonna pay for the books. Maybe I will just get them from the library and see what it's all about. Because the crazy thing is I've read the synopsis of them when they came out. Like, I'd be in Books A Million and I'd see the new book and be like, oh man, it's like, she's going places, it's cool, but then I just know what's gonna happen. So we'll see. But do I recommend Anita Blake? I do. I can't deny. I really loved this series. Anita, she's a necromancer. She can raise the dead. She works with the police, so she solves preternatural crimes. And these first like 10 books are really great. There's a lot of drama. And, you know, there's a little bit of sexiness going on because, you know, it is a bit erotic. You know, it's adult. But, you know, just know that with time, it gets really just too much steam on the windows. Okay, I can't see through. Okay, no matter how many times you wipe your hand across the window, just fogging right up. That's what these most recent books are like. There's nothing I can do to unfog my glasses. The whole room is a sauna. And I'm not liking it. Like, that's the other part. I'm not liking the sauna feel. That's why I haven't continued that series. But I'm gonna keep reading the first few books. Debate whether I'm gonna go any further than that. But ultimately, I would recommend if you're into this. And lastly is a book I've been I've been meaning to reread for a while. And that is the Dark Elf Trilogy by Arie Salvatore. This was my husband's favorite book, and he loves the Forgotten Realms series. I've read this one. This is basically the background, or the, you know, the first, I think it's 3 books are in, you hear that? Sounds amazing. Anyway, there should be 3 parts in this book. Yeah, Homeland, Exile, and Sojourn. And this is about Drizzt Warden. The next 3 books are Crystal Shard. Oh man, I can't remember what the series is called. But I wanted to reread that series too. That's when you meet like Wolfgar and the other characters, and this is all kind of like a Forgotten Realms is Dungeons and Dragons. I never played that growing up, and I haven't played it as an adult, but I loved this book. This is another one of those that, you know, I'm usually not a fan of a book that has a thick book that has multiple books in it, but there's just something about this one I just never read. So it's funny because I pulled this out of our books from upstairs and was like, I'm gonna reread this. My husband works a little bit further now from where we live, and he was like, well, maybe I'll reread it too, but I'll listen to it on audiobook. So maybe I did marry a reader. No, I mean, he'll do it, but I won't call him a reader, that's for sure. But anyway, is this like an honorable mention? I don't know if I would say that, but I definitely want to reread this book. I'm definitely in the mood for a, you know what? I feel bad because like I'm in the mood to read this thick fantasy book, to reread it, but I'm not in the mood to read a new fantasy book. I need to get past that because I have a lot of books. I have a lot of books on my TBR. Once again, wish me luck. But I absolutely recommend this. It was 5 stars. The companion that he has, the cat companion, Guinevere, that's what I named my dog after. I got 2 dogs, Rothgar, who passed away, his sister Guinevere. That is who she is named after because my husband got to name her. Sweet. But yeah, I can't wait to reread this because it was really, really good. There you have it. Those are the books that I recommend, the series that I recommend, some that I'm going to reread this year, some that I'm already rereading this year. Let's do it together, okay? If you haven't read these, let's do it. Let's do it together. Yeah, I'm excited. But anyway, like I said, I recommend all of these series. I know that some people have already read them. Maybe not. It is what it is, but I love them so much. Some of these are like, I'm gonna definitely read them again. But anyway, tell me if you've read them before. Tell me if you liked those series. Tell me if any of them seemed interesting and you say you might want to read them. I can see probably, I know some people have already told me that they're really interested in reading Women's War. I really hope you guys like it because I really liked it and I talked really highly about it, so I don't want people to hate it. But if you end up reading these, please let me know. If you've already read them, tell me what you think. I'd love to talk about them. There's a lot of books in this like pile that I love that I'd love to talk to someone about. Okay, but with that being said, thank you for watching my video. If you like the video, please like the video, and if you like the video, please subscribe. Yeah, so everybody have a good day. Goodbye.